Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today I thought it would be fun to use the Golden Tarot of Marseille for a few demonstration videos. I did a video of this deck and two others as a comparison. All three of the decks are based on the Claude Burdel of 1751. So I compared the two Lo Scarabeo decks, how they compare with one another, and then I pulled a more facsimile deck by Yves Renaud to see how the Lo Scarabeo decks stacked up against, more or less the original deck. So if you're interested in seeing that comparison of decks, I'll list the link below, but it shouldn't be too much trouble to find since it was my most recent video besides this one. And I thought it would be fun to do readings using this deck during the holiday season because it's kind of blingy, right? It's kind of got it's definitely got a festive feel to it that we don't see in TDM decks because after all, woodblock printing doesn't lend itself to bling. And, like the Visconti decks, which were hand-painted, or the Estensi decks, the Italian decks, which were luxurious decks, the TDM doesn't really lend itself to that. There would have been no chance of seeing a blingy deck for TDM. So I think it's kind of fun that they did that. At any rate, I couldn't come up with a good real question. Sometimes, I prefer to ask real questions as opposed to fictitious questions, but I couldn't think of one. And sometimes when I think of real questions I'd like answered, I can't end up posting them because the responses are so personal. I don't want it out there, So I decided instead to just do another one of my exercises whereby I pull a couple cards to see card combinations, not necessarily a reading, but see if we can come up with one meaning depending on card combinations that are pulled. So with that in mind, and the purposes of demonstration and education, it's not a real question. There's no question. So we have the Queen of Coin, certainly someone who's a master in her own right. She's, the Queen of well-being. The suit of coin is well-being. So she's probably affluent or aspires for the finer things in life. Coupled with the Six of Swords, 6 being a perfect number, and the suit of swords, for me, you'd have to have your own associations, and no one's telling you what they have to be, right? But for me, 6 is a perfect number, and the suit of swords is a suit of communication. It can be. So we have a queen who is generally someone who is, she's someone who is, achieved greatness, but maybe her lack of strength lies in, language. She's looking away from the Six of Swords, which would be eloquent speaking. Or maybe she's, looking away from communication that's being received. Or maybe she's not paying attention to something that's coming into her. Maybe she'll miss an email. Maybe she won't answer an important phone call. That kind of thing. That's the vibe I get from that. Let's see. I want to mention too that I've riffle shuffled this deck probably at least 30 times, and I've overhand shuffled the deck at least, a few dozen, and there is not a speck of like gold dust on the table. Again, another 3, and now the suit of cups. So 3, abundance, growth. Oh, no, this isn't another 3. I'm sorry, that was a 6. So we have abundance and growth, and here's another 6. So this would be most fortuitous combination of cards. We have growth in emotional arena, And then 6, a perfect number, another 2 perfect numbers, to tell you the truth. And the suit of coins for me can represent well-being and the finer things that money can buy. So there's a sense of affluence, emotional richness, being able to appreciate, comfort, emotional and physical well-being. So this would be a most fortuitous combination. I'll do a few more. So we have the Ace of Cups, and we have the King of Coin. So we see with the Ace of Cups an opportunity, something of an emotional sort, a beginning. And we have the King of Coin, who, again, like the Queen of Coin, is looking away from an opportunity. So, he's, again, like the Queen of Coin, he's, he's achieved. He's probably an affluent individual, or he at least, appreciates the finer things in life. He's achieved who he is, who he's going to be, but there's an opportunity that he's not looking at. Maybe an opportunity for love or romance that he's just not paying attention to. Now, of course, the interpretations would have, you'd have to do it in regard to a question being asked. Now we have a youth who is looking at the Two of Cups, which for me can represent, relationship or a pairing or a bond with, an emotional bond, right? So we have a young person who's very much aware of this opportunity or this thing that may have already manifested itself, and he's not turning his head like his elders are. What a pretty card, huh? Look at that. And can you see the filigree? I think that's called filigree. It's an embossed surface, so you can feel it. Very pretty. Okay, another court card. I think, has every one of these had a court card? I'm not sure. Both people looking in the same direction. The female Pope is looking at the Knight. Are they in pursuit of the same thing? Has, a woman of, an erudite woman, has she requested the services of someone to expedite a message that she might have for someone? Let's see who would the next card be. Now the next card, truth be told, if I were lay the next card, I'd probably put it in this order. But to clarify what they're both going toward, I would pull a card and put it before this card to see what they're looking at. So let's see what they're looking at. Temperance. So perhaps they're looking for a way to come up with a solution for something, maybe there's a situation where they're at odds and they have to come up with a compatible solution. And so neither maybe will get their wish, but they'll come up with a new wish, or they'll come up with a new solution to a problem. Now, without this card being there, I would think that she was expediting him to do something. So maybe she's expediting him, to come up with a solution for a sticky social situation. Another 3. And Death. So we have communication, growth, maybe growth in communication. So what could that mean? Well, that could mean, it could be taking a chance. 3 is an unstable number, so although it's a perfect number and it is a number of growth, it could also indicate maybe taking a risk. And then we have the Death card, because maybe if we take a risk, maybe it won't work out. So even though the Fool card does not appear here, if I were to see this, and especially if the question was like, I'm going to take a chance on something, I don't know that I would suggest that they do take that chance at this particular time. Now, we could also take a look at the quintessential between the two, which would be 16. And that would further suggest to me, being that it would be the Tower, that I wouldn't encourage the risk in this particular thing. But maybe it isn't a risk-taking question, but that is just the impression I get by seeing these two cards together. I guess it really all depends on the question being asked. Wow, so we have two cards from two separate suits, but they're aggressive suits, right? You know, the suit of batons can be, for me, social activity, whether it's at the workplace or sports related or family gatherings, but it's active, right? It's an active, group of individuals participating in something. And then we have an almost as high number in the suit of swords, which is also a very active suit. And, sometimes the higher numbers in the suit of swords can be, they start to look dangerous or they start to become problematic. So they could be a warning of a large gathering of individuals, to maybe be careful. Be careful with words, especially if you associate suit of swords with communication, especially in this holiday season when people are getting together for Thanksgiving or harvest, meals or Yuletide dinners or Christmas dinners or whatever you celebrate. Whenever you have a large number of individuals coming together, there is always the potential for putting foot in mouth and faux pas or whatever. Now, 8 is not a devastating number. It's a solid number. It's like number 4 on steroids. So it's a number of a certain amount of stability, but it's still, a warning maybe, to keep conversation and activity with large groups of people, to keep things pleasant. So we have a 9 and a 5 of the same suit. So for me, the suit of coin is a suit of well-being. And so we have 10 and then immediately followed exponentially with a lesser number. 5 is exponentially less than 10. So this could suggest a depletion of resources or a dip in one's, creature comforts. Everything depends on the question, though. It could be definitely interpreted quite differently if there was a question posed. So we have a 2, a small gathering of people, an understanding between two people in a social setting, or a bonding, or something that they're working on together. And we have a 5, which is an unstable number, can be a challenging number of language and communication, air. So that would be a warning, I think, or just to keep in mind, the challenges that they might encounter either with themselves or with others, that they're working with, to try to keep, the words careful. Try to be careful when you choose the words and when you communicate with others. There's a potential for instability. And it doesn't have to just be words. It could be actions too. And we'll do one more and then we'll call it a day. So we have La Bateleur, who can be a trickster, and the 3 of coin, which is, growth. And if you see growth of well-being. So it's possible that, you might need to take care of some deception, or you yourself might be called upon to use some deception in order to get the ball rolling for yourself in a more productive way. It depends on the question. But I hope you have enjoyed this simple demonstration and enough to decide whether you like this deck or not. I think it's lovely. And I'm glad I bought it for myself. I originally bought it for my granddaughters because I'm creating a little tarot chest for them. And I'm filling each of their respective decks up with tarot decks. And I thought I would buy this one for them because sometimes, it's a little hard for, I think sometimes it's a little intimidating, for some people to go and embrace the Tarot of Marseille or non-scenic pip cards. And I hope it's in their DNA that they gravitate towards these kinds of decks because this is what Grandma does, right? But in case they need a little bit of a push, I decided that I should buy them this kind of blingy deck that would attract any little person towards it because it's shiny and pretty and new. So that's why I bought it for them. But, I like it too. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, friends. Oh, let's change that. Here we go. Until next time, friends, peace and stay well.